Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is a quick breakdown of the 2026 Home Services of America National Housing Outlook and what it means for buyers, sellers, and homeowners. 1. Let's start big picture. The report describes 2026 as a year of normalization after intense volatility, inflation, rapid rate hikes, and severe supply constraints. Mortgage rates have moved out of the roller coaster phase and into a more stable range. Inventory is slowly climbing off record lows, and home prices have cooled to more normal, historically aligned growth. Homeowners, meanwhile, are in excellent shape with near record equity and very low delinquency levels supporting overall market stability. On mortgage rates, the outlook is clear. Don't expect a return to pandemic era 3% loans. Historically, 30-year fixed rates have averaged around 6% to 7%, and most major forecasts see 2026 living in roughly the 6% to 6.4% range, with some ARM products in the high fives for buyers open to alternatives. Nearly all major forecasters expect rates to remain in the 6% band through 2028, which has big implications for how long people stay put and how they think about refinancing. Inventory is in what the report calls the long climb out of scarcity. After more than a decade of underbuilding and low mobility, new listings are rising, new construction is contributing, and more homeowners are deciding that life events matter more than protecting a sub 4% rate. Realtor.com data showed inventory up about 30% year over year through mid 2025, with early 2026 projections getting back to roughly early 2020 levels, still below long term norms, but clearly moving in the right direction. On prices, the double digit gains of 2020 through 2022 are behind us. The report expects modest, steady national price growth in 2026, similar to the 2015 to 2019 environment, with most major forecasts clustered in the low single digits. Some regions that ran hottest during the pandemic, like parts of the West and Mountain West, are expected to see slower appreciation, while the South and Northeast should see firmer price growth driven by population inflows and tight supply. Home sales are projected to improve in inches, not leaps. NAR projects existing home sales to rise roughly 14% in 2026 from the 2025 trough, while other economists see a more modest 3% to 9% increase. That would still leave us below the all time highs, but clearly off the bottom we hit in the 2023 to 2025 period. New home sales are forecast in the 760,000 to 800,000 range, with builders continuing to use rate buydowns and incentives to attract buyers. One of the most important sections in this report is titled, Why This Is Not 2007. The Federal Reserve estimates homeowner equity at over $34 trillion, and nearly 70% of owners have at least 50% equity in their homes. Post 2010 underwriting standards are much stricter, average credit scores are stronger, and delinquency and foreclosure rates remain far below Great Recession levels. In other words, this is a market with affordability challenges, but not one sitting on a systemic credit time bomb. So, what does all of this mean for you? For buyers, expect more choice than a few years ago, rates that are stable but not cheap, and prices that are rising, just not racing. For sellers, strong equity is a huge advantage, but pricing realistically to today's conditions, not yesterday's headlines, will be key. And for current homeowners, the theme of 2026 is continuing to invest in modernization, energy efficiency, and the kind of upgrades that keep older housing stock competitive. The bottom line, 2026 looks like a year of stabilization and balance, driven less by extremes and more by steady economic and demographic forces.